I wore it because I knew I was gonna have to talk about Gallo today.
Gallo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I hope all of you guys are having a fabulous day or night wherever you are watching this podcast at. But this is another Yankee Way podcast. We have quite a bit to talk about in terms of what has been going on as of recently. I'm happy that we will be getting the podcast going up consistently again. We hadn't done one for at least like 2 weeks. I said that on the last podcast, but we're back to doing at least one every single week, at least at the bare minimum, unless there are special occasions where we need to have a second one. And yeah, we're just kind of going from there. First off, I think that we should mention real quick because I'm sure you have some things that you want to talk about, but I just wanted to mention a few things real quick before we dive into some of your hot and spicy, juicy content that we always know and love that you're going to have because it's inevitable.
Yeah. Something will come up in my head.
Yankees 5-1 since the last podcast. We've had some crazy games as of late. The Yankees are 45-16, still the best record in baseball. That hasn't changed. 16-7 against winning teams, plus 129 run differential, which is the best in the league. And this is what's crazy. I actually just looked this up. I didn't notice this till earlier today after the Yankees beat the Rays. But the Yankees have as many wins against winning teams as they do total losses. They have 16 total losses and 16 wins against winning teams.
That's all we do is lose against bad teams.
That's crazy to me. Like that's insanity.
The Orioles every time.
But I thought I thought I would just have to mention that real quick. I didn't know if you even knew that. I tweeted about it earlier today.
I would like to preface that statement by saying, yes, that's amazing, but also the league is enormously top heavy right now. There is way more teams under 500 than are over 500. I mean, like, look, let me just look this up right now. How many teams are over 500 right now? There's 4 in the East, 2 in the Central, there's 6, 7. There's 7 in the American League right now. 9, let's see, 9 there, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So there's 14 teams over 500 right now. That's less than half the league is over 500. It was worse before the Braves and Phillies started winning a lot of games. But it is. I think that's yes, we've done well to take care of our business, but also it's a league-wide phenomena of there is a lot of really mediocre teams right now, kind of scuffling right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I love that stat, but I'm also kind of sitting here like, yeah, but seems like we've just kind of beaten a bunch of mediocre teams too. But yes, we have won against some good teams, and I'm extremely happy about that.
So, outside of that, kind of going...
sub 500.
Just kind of going through the motions with the offense and the pitching. Offense, Yankees lead in home runs, 98, OPS, WRC+, F4. And then for the pitching, they lead in ERA with 2.81. They lead in FIP, WHIP, Sierra, and F4 as well. So both offense and the pitching continue to fire and click on all the cylinders. That really hasn't changed since pretty much the beginning of the season. It's been pretty consistent the entire way through. Here's some things that I wanted to mention. We'll kind of mention specific games. There's 2 games that I wanted to mention specifically. One of them was what are the words that I'm trying to say? The not so great start. I'll put it nicely and say not so great start from Garrett Cole. We can talk about that game against the Twins, which, by the way, I don't hate Garrett Cole, but let's be honest, it wasn't a great start, and that's just kind of the facts behind it. We'll get more into that later. And then the other one that I want to talk about was the blowout, the Cubs 18-4 game, because I want to talk about Matt Carpenter a little bit. But first, before we go ahead and go into that, we'll talk about the Twins game first. I just wanted to mention real quick, Joey Gallo, in his last 10 games, he's got a really, really good BB percentage. He's back to walking, seeing a lot of pitches, 3 home runs, 947 OPS with a 169 WRC+. Doing really good as of late. Yeah. Let's look at Aaron Hicks in his last 10 games. Again, a high BB percentage. He's walking again. He's seeing a lot of pitches. One home run, not that big of a deal, but he does.
A great home run though.
It was a big home run. To be fair, like.
By the way, I love the shirt.
Oh, thank you. It's a good shirt. I wore it because I knew I was gonna have to talk about Gallo today.
Gallo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
But Hicks also has a 829 OPS and a 145 WRC plus. So moral of the story, Hicks and Gallo are seeing a lot more pitches again. They're doing what they can do best is walk. But also in Gallo's case, he can also hit a lot of home runs and he can slug, and that's what he's been doing. So it's good to see both of those guys back. Since you wanted to mention it, since you already mentioned it, what were your feelings? Because we weren't in the same call together when it happened, but what were your feelings whenever you saw Aaron Hicks tie that game up? I mean,
oh my God, I'm just like, oh, he's come back to Minnesota and he's found new life. Here we go. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I honestly wasn't expecting to do anything in that situation because I've been burned so many times in the past. But like, finally, he finds one pitch to hit off of a guy who's honestly not like, he's had a good season so far. I think it was Joe Ryan. I think he's been pretty solid and not an easy guy to hit a home run off of it. You know, he just kind of left it in the happy zone of a lefty, down middle, and just he hit it into oblivion. I couldn't believe it. Kind of hope that would spark something for him. I mean, look, it's funny. Do you remember when the season began and we're talking about Joey Gallo and we're like, oh man, Joey Gallo, he's hitting the ball hard. He's got nothing to show for it. I feel like Aaron Hicks has kind of gotten into that boat now where he's hitting the ball hard. He's just nothing to show for it. Like, Aaron Hicks could damn well have walked that game off, the first Cubs game, and just like drawn in infield, hits a line drive right at the third baseman, and you're like, oh my God, now we're gonna lose this game because like that was it. That was the moment. This is it. It's like Aaron Hicks is up, he hits one, and just
you're talking about that line drive that Patrick Wisdom rocked.
Yeah, right at Patrick Wisdom, who was like on the grass playing bunt or like playing in, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Yeah. Like, that's just so unfortunate. I mean, if that was Giancarlo, I would have taken the guy's head off, but just unlucky. So yeah, that's a real shame. I mean, so I'm seeing, like what you said, better at bats, but unfortunately now he's kind of in a situation where he's lost his playing time, especially now you've got Andujar in the weeds hiding out, and you've got Matt Carpenter now who's basically hitting like Ruthian numbers. Unfortunately, Aaron Hicks is going to have to take a back seat now and really have to show up in order if he wants playing time. He's going to have to play like his ass is on fire just to get playing time.
I actually wanted to mention this real quick because if I don't, I'll end up forgetting it, and I don't want to forget anything. But if I'm not mistaken, when Jose Trevino hit that walk-off hit, I'm pretty sure that same day was his son's birthday, that's incredible. That's insane.
So all I need you to do is tell me if his wife or his mother's birthday is in October, then that would be perfect. I really hope that one of those is true because you and I both know he's going to come up big on those days.
He does it every time. It's honestly become a regular routine for Trevino to come up in these huge spots. It's crazy.
How could you not be romantic about baseball?
But kind of going back to the Twins game, we want to talk about Garrett Cole a little bit. Obviously, nobody should be. You know as good as I do that Yankee Twitter loves to freak out, and you told me this a little bit before the podcast. You're like, oh, why were you freaking out and stuff like that? Because Garrett Cole and Spider Tack and all this and that. There's always excuses when it comes to Garrett Cole. And yes, Garrett Cole did pitch a dud. It wasn't a good performance, straight out. But that doesn't mean that Garrett Cole's a bad pitcher. I mean, did you see what he just did to the Rays? 6 innings of shutout ball. That's the second time that he's done that against the Rays.
That's a
team really long outing.
Pitch well against. He does not pitch well against that team. It's like the worst team. Like, he has a career 4 ERA against the Tampa Bay Rays. Just can't figure it out. And you know what he did today? He went out there, kept other than a couple really unfortunate like bloop hits and just jam shots, he pitched extremely well tonight. I don't know what else to tell you. Everyone who says he's a bad pitcher is in shambles right now. I don't know what else I want to say. The guy went out there and he pitched 6 strong innings. He sat down Ji-Man Choi. Look, if it wasn't Ji-Man Choi got a jam shot single up the middle. But he struck out G-Man Choi twice. They obviously didn't want him, face him the third time, which I don't blame them. But I mean, he's been really putting those numbers of. We all sit here and we're talking about the fact that G-Man Choi is hitting, 700 against Garrett Cole coming into the season, and he's really figured out how to pitch to G-Man Choi this year.
Mm-hmm.
Been great to watch him finally overcome those demons, but got a long way to go.
Yeah, and I was going to kind of mention with the whole last start of Garrett Cole and how a lot of people say that he's really bad. Well, the thing is, now Garrett Cole has a 3.33 ERA, and it doesn't take long for Garrett Cole to go back in the sub-2 territory.
Do you remember Garrett Cole when he almost won Cy Young over, Robbie Ray? Like, we were sitting here talking about who should win Cy Young, and, I'm pretty sure his ERA was in, the high 2s at that point, right? Didn't he have, a 2.76 ERA? He's not far off. And look, everybody has bad starts. I mean, look, even the best pitchers, even the pitchers who win Cy Young Awards, even they have, a 2 or 3 ERA. It doesn't matter. Everyone's going to give up runs eventually. Look, it's just the facts of life.
But since it's Garrett Cole in the contract, it's easy for people to single him out and pick on him.
Oh, in 2021, he had a 3.23 ERA, and he was second in Cy Young voting. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that people like Garrett, Justin Verlander and Nestor Cortez are going out there and making everyone look stupid, then maybe Garrett Cole would be pretty up there in ERA. How about Terrence Gore? Terrence Gore looked unhittable for the first couple months. All of a sudden, he looks like he can't get an out.
But yeah, going back to the whole Twins thing. Obviously, he had Garrett,
right?
Yeah, are you talking about the starting pitcher for the? Are you talking about Mackenzie Gore for the Padres? Mackenzie Gore. I was like Terrence Gore.
I'm like,
no. It's Mackenzie Gore.
The outfielder. Yeah, Mackenzie Gore. Yeah, you're right.
But
I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Sorry.
You're good. Kind of going back to the Twins game. Didn't have the greatest beginning. Obviously, the back-to-back home runs to Arise, who is an on-base percentage king, by the way, and hits for average like crazy. Also to Byron Buxton, who's a generational talent, and then Carlos Correa, who's a very, very, very good player in himself. And here's the thing, too. People act like the Twins are a terrible team offensively, which is just not true, because I pulled up these numbers. The Twins are exactly 7th in team OPS, and they're 5th in team WRC+. That says to me that they hit the ball really, really well. They have a good, complacent lineup. They have a team that can hit, and they're going to score runs, and that's how they're going to beat you. Really, the problem with the Twins is they haven't been able to stay healthy. I know Sonny Gray and some other guys are out right now, and their bullpen is shaky. If they could get healthy and they could add at least a piece or maybe 2 pieces at the trade deadline, if there are any good, solid relievers, Twins are going to be in business. They're already a team that is definitely somebody that you don't want to count out because of their offense alone. But if they get healthy and they get a few bullpen pieces, at least one, which would at the bare minimum would help them, they're definitely going to be a team that I know that there's always these narratives that the Twins, they never beat the Yankees in the playoffs, or they can't do well in the playoffs. But I mean, there's always a chance with how October baseball goes that things can turn around in the Twins' favor. And look, I'm not saying the Twins are going to beat the Yankees in the playoffs if they play each other. What I'm simply saying is that the Twins they have a better offense than people give them credit for, and that if there's any team that I want Cole to get blasted off against, it would be a team like the Twins who actually have a respectable offense, a very respectable offense.
I don't expect him to give up a leadoff home run to Luis Arise, who I thought that was his first career home run ever. It wasn't. It was, I think, his second career home run? For a guy who never hits home runs, that was a shot. And then at that point, it was all downhill.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing that should make you feel better. Arise, as far as I'm concerned right now, is leading an average, and he at a certain point he had a 420 on base percentage. It might have gone up from there. It's insane how good he is. It doesn't make me
feel better about a guy who is basically just the reincarnation of Ichiro is out here hitting dingers off my ace. I don't know about that one. It doesn't make me feel good. A contact first guy is hitting moonshots off a guy we're paying $300 million to pitch for in October.
I mean, last year IKF had one memorable moonshot with the Texas Rangers. I mean, sometimes these guys will get a hold of a good pitch and drive it. It happens.
Speaking of that, I'm for the longest time now, I've been thinking about who's going to hit a home run first, IKF or Higashioka. It turns out we have the answer. It's not IKF. It's the other guy.
Two home
man.
runs, two against Frank Schwindel as
Oh,
well.
come on. The second one doesn't count. The
It
second one
definitely
doesn't
counts.
count.
It
Terrence
counts in
Score
my
would be a
book.
better pitcher than he was. And I'm actually talking about Terrence Score this time.
Hmm. But just the last thing to talk about with the Twins. Obviously, Cole had a bad start, but he figured out and redeemed himself the next start. Who cares? He's still an amazing. He's still the ace of this team, or aces, I would say, stable of aces. He's
He
still a
showed
good pitcher. It is what it
He
is.
showed you exactly what makes him an ace. Like, he has bad start, puts it behind him, comes in, changes what he does, figures it out. He was throwing way more knuckle curves today, was using his off-speed pitches, and was just using the fastball to show. Like, he did not get a lot of. He had great control over the fastball to begin with, but he started using the other pitches to make the other batters respect them first, and then went to the fastball later. And he threw it with great location, and he shows you what he's capable of doing.
Mhm.
Holding a team down for 6 innings and giving your offense a chance, and you take advantage of a team's mistakes. How many years in the past have we seen this team where they get free people on base and they don't take any advantage of them? Today they said, no, we're gonna kick their door in at this point. You know, they gave us free runners, and IKF just drove a double through that door, or single actually.
Mhm.
And great base running by Torres too.
Mhm.
Watching Torres run the bases is so much fun. It's
Mhm.
incredible. Like he's like incredible. His just where he lacks, where all Yankee fans are convinced he lacks IQ in other areas, he for some reason runs the bases like a genius, which is really weird. Don't understand what happened with that.
Probably the last thing I want to mention about the Twins series, it has nothing to do with Garrett Cole anymore, because I think we probably hit that in the nail in the coffin.
Hallelujah. We're done.
The one last thing that I wanted to mention, just because the game was so crazy, is I remember tweeting this during the game, and I was like, this game is really shaping up to be like that classic from 2019 when Aaron Hicks ended it with the Air Hicks. Like, it's just, it was crazy. And honestly, that was the even crazier part. Here's the thing. Here's the last thing I'll say about Garrett Cole. Yeah, he may have had a bad start, but if the Yankees come back and win that, at the end of the day, does it really matter if he pitches as badly as he did? Because the team still won at the end of the day. They still came back. And if anything, it just proves that the Yankees' offense is relentless, and no matter who they're facing, they're never out of it until the last out is
never
recorded.
Feel like they're out of it. They have all the confidence in the world. Even after the game, they asked Joey Gallo, they're like, do you guys feel like you're going to come back? He's like, oh yeah, we're coming back. We got it. No big deal.
But let's talk about a little bit about the Cubs series, and particularly the last game, the blowout, the 18-4 game. Talk about Matt Carpenter. Here's a crazy stat for you. He has 8 hits this season. 6 of them are home runs, and 1 of them is a bunt single.
You know, it was a double. Have you seen his spray chart? His spray chart is disgusting. There's just like red dots out of the stadium and like 1 single to the left side. Like, it's just incredible. Although today, it was a little disappointing. Today's game was the Rays game. I thought he came up with some chances to drive in runners, and unfortunately, he just couldn't get it done. But it happens to the best of us. I was listening to the radio, and some caller was like, "Oh, I like this Matt Carpenter guy. I really want him to play every day." And I'm like, "He's like, I want him to play third base over Josh Donaldson." I'm like, "Wait, hold on a second.
No.
Wait a minute.
Not defensively.
Look, we all love Matt Carpenter. He's hitting out of his mind right now, and that's a good reason to get him in the game. It does not mean that you bench Josh Donaldson, who plays way better defense and can really swing the bat just as well as that. It's just that, you know, Matt Carpenter's on a torrid pace right now, and he'll come down from that. Like, he's not going to hit, 40 home runs this season. It's just not going to happen.
It's completely unsustainable what he's doing right now. But
right. I'm like, no, just relax.
But still, I want to embrace that Matt Carpenter has a 1.376 OPS and a 273 WRC plus. I still am gonna embrace that because they're great
coming
numbers.
Into the game was like a 1.5 OPS. I mean, just unbelievable numbers. But like, look, that's a reason you play him. You find reasons to play him until he comes down a little bit, and then maybe you kind of be like, okay, maybe we've gotten everything out of this, and now we just kind of need to just not play him as much. But you play him while he's hot, you get as much out of him as you can, and then you move on.
The mustache king, mustache power. I don't think he's ever going to shave that mustache again. He's never going to shave it. He's going to keep it for the rest of his life.
Everyone's got the mustaches now on the Yankees. Have you been watching this? Like, Trevino's got the mustache. Gallo's got a mustache.
I did want to mention this cool little stat. I don't remember who I found this from on Twitter, so this isn't mine. This isn't the one that I ended up finding, like creating myself and stuff like that. I had to find this just randomly on Twitter from a certain YouTuber or certain Twitter user. I can't even talk today, but here's an interesting, very interesting stat that I did not know about. Matt Carpenter is the second player since at least 1901, to be very specific, which is a long time ago, with 7+ RBIs in multiple games versus the Cubs. There's only one other player who's ever done that, and one of them is Matt Carpenter. Out of the two players who've done that to the Cubs, I mean, I know in the grand scheme of things that doesn't really mean anything in terms of like, you know, a season, like a 162 game season. That doesn't really mean anything, but it's still a really cool stat that I dug up and found from a random user on Twitter. I want to keep saying YouTube because I was watching a lot of YouTube before we started doing this podcast. I'm like, no, we need to switch this off. It's not YouTube I found it on, it's Twitter I found it on. But yeah, just a random cool stat, Matt Carpenter, and that's the thing too. I remember somebody asking John Boy earlier. They were like, "Well, what's going to happen when Matt Carpenter comes off this unsustainable mountain that he's at?" And then I really liked John Boy's reply, and it basically simply was, it wouldn't really matter if Matt Carpenter never did anything because I don't think the Yankees were expecting him to do what he's done. With the amount of production that he's gave the Yankees in such a short amount of time, he's already offered so much value that the Yankees did not expect.
It is already more than we had bargained for. I mean, we are already making out like bandits. Anything extra is just extra cheese on the burger. Like, you know, I don't need him to do anything else at this point. He's a veteran presence. I love his attitude. He's a nice guy to have around. I mean, clearly everyone's rallied around him. He loves being here. And he's producing out of his mind right now. So, I mean, look, in New York, when you're playing well, there is no one can touch you. But like, that's the thing here. Is like the highs are the highest highs, and the lows are the lowest lows. I mean, that's just the way it works here. And right now, he is like, right now, free steak wherever he goes. Right now, like it's, hey, I'm Matt Carpenter. All right, I got a seat for you right here.
Yeah.
You know, come on in. You know, we'll take care of you, man. Playing well for the Yankees. There's no other better place to do it.
And honestly, I have a soft spot for Matt Carpenter because he actually worked when he was revamping his swing. He actually worked with Oklahoma State's own, which, you know, I went there, Matt Holliday. So I'm like, that's so cool. That's so cool to me.
I wish you could go work with Oklahoma State's Matt Holliday, but I digress.
It would be cool, but no, I haven't gotten that opportunity yet. That's not
awesome.
Something.
I want to touch on one thing. I don't know if you have anything else to say about one of your favorite Cardinals.
There was only one thing that I was going to mention, but it's something that's kind of small that we could just wrap it up with the end, to be honest.
I wanted to complain about the fact of the people who are like, oh, the Yankees hit too many home runs. They rely on the home runs. Well, look, I have news for you. The Yankees have the best win percentage when not hitting a home run, and I think it's literally 9-9. It's the best winning percentage in the majors when not hitting a home run.
Michael K.
Dead even.
Michael K. actually mentioned that on the broadcast today.
Right.
If he was.
He mentioned it. He said they're 8-9 when they don't hit a home run. Well, now they're 9-9 when they don't hit a home run.
And that's the best in the league.
The best in the majors.
A dead even record is the best in the league when not hitting a home run.
Right.
That's crazy. That's insane.
It goes to show you that they win in other ways, and also I think it's because of the pitching too. The pitching keeps the other team from hitting 3-run home runs to try to play catch-up ball from you. You know, you can live with solo shots, but you know, you give up 3-run home runs with supposed to be backbreakers. You know, it's very difficult for you to single your way back if you're giving up 3-run home runs. It's kind of like in football when you're down by 14. You know, you can't win by kicking field goals. You know, you got to go for touchdowns.
Yeah. And if you get so behind, then you got to start going for extra points.
That's
so
they come down by 2 touchdowns, and they couldn't come back from kicking field goals. Dion's start was really weird that day, don't you think? It's like I don't feel like he pitched that poorly, but he gives up like 2 leadoff triples, and I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Like, hello? And like at one point it was like 10-4, and the Cubs have the bases loaded, and I'm like, oh man, like this is this is getting really kind of sketchy all of a sudden. Like, what's going on? So, like, yeah, we won by 14, but it never really felt like we were really winning by that much. It just felt like it was right around the corner of, oh no, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
I mean, Tyone having a mediocre start was kind of buried in that game, and no one seems to really care, except me, because I'm pedantic. In the midst of the Cubs breaking the record for the most consecutive at bats with a runner in scoring position, I think they got to about to like 47 in a row.
Yeah.
Can get a hit, unbelievable. But yeah,
I was gonna say, actually, now that you're kind of mentioning it, that first game of the series where it went to 13 innings, I was getting to the point where the Yankees were just not capitalizing, and the Cubs wouldn't capitalize. I'm like, can the Yankees please just end this game right now?
And somebody please just do something. And we had our chances too, man. I mean, like, I wanted them to pinch hit for Higgy in like the 9th, and then the 11th, and then it took him to the 13th. And then Trevino hits the walk-off. And I'm like, I told you so. Come on, man. Like, just pinch hit the guy. What do you have to lose at this point? There's no one on the bench. That's it. We're done here. I mean, man. And I mean, Trevino, like, he's beaten up right now. We know he's hurt, but he's playing through it. So, serious, like, you know, credit to him for stepping up. I love it. You know, retire his number.
Last thing I wanted to mention real quick, like I said, it wouldn't take that long. I just wanted to mention that this is just completely random, but I thought I would share it with you, and I know you would love this stat.
I love random stuff.
I just randomly went on StatCast, and I like to just go through random tabs. It's not even like Yankee really. Like, I just like to see who all the leaders are in the individual stats and stuff like that on StatCast. But I found that if you go to the exit velocity tab and you go to the barrels per plate appearance, Aaron Judge leads with 16.7, and then Stanton leads with 15.7. So you have Judge and Stanton leading the league in barrel percentage, and I mean...
Oh, that can't be possible. Everybody told me that Giancarlo guy is terrible. That can't be possible.
Yeah, I was told that Stanton was a loser.
Check those numbers again, because I don't believe those numbers. Because everyone on Yankee Twitter tells me that Giancarlo's overrated. It can't be right.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
What do you think about those numbers, though? I mean, it's not surprising, but...
It's terrifying. I don't want to face that team. I'm good. I want to... Look, I like the barrels stat because it means you hit the ball hard and you hit it in that exit velocity window of that ball go far. That's where the happy zone is of launch angle and exit velocity for you to make ball go far. And I think that they hit 600 average on line drives, and that's right in the butter zone of line drives. That's where you want people hitting the baseball. You want them hitting line drives, and you want them hitting it hard. And two of the best in the league are playing almost back to back in the batting order. That is no easy task. I don't want to have to be the person to deal with that.
And obviously,
all of them have the power to go the other way too.
And this obviously, not everybody does, but we talk about how launch angle matters, and obviously so does exit velocity. I mean, even if you're hitting grounders, the chance of you getting a single or a double off of a hard hit ball like Stanton, where Stanton's hitting 150 mile per hour grounders, you're even though it's a grounder, and grounders statistically are way worse than fly balls and especially line drives, you're still giving yourself a much better chance of getting on base and doing damage because you're hitting it so ridiculously hard. How many times have we seen Stanton hit it straight at the defender and it's going so fast and it takes a wicked bounce that it just knocks off the defender and he can't field it correctly?
You just don't have enough time.
It just happens, you know.
Enough time.
Exactly.
It takes away their ability to move laterally on the ball. So, I mean, it makes it so that way, unless they're in the perfect spot, it's probably going to go through for a hit. And I thought it was very interesting, the respect that Tampa showed to Stanton today they played Stanton straight up in the infield, which I've never seen anybody do, ever. But they played Stanton straight up, because he's so adept at taking away. He can hit the ball to the right side through the hole that they shift on all the time. And we've seen him do this and rack up 3 or 4 hit games. And he does that. And they're like, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to give you that spot. We need you to not do that. It worked for them, and then Rizzo smashed a single through like the 3 outfielders. They probably should have used 4 for that one, but I digress.
Yeah, that's honestly an interesting strategy because I mean, how many times have we seen Stanton in the same game? One at bat, he might drive the ball direct right center, and the next at bat, he'll drive it to left center. I mean, he can hit both sides of the field.
Stanton
It's
has
not a
become
problem.
a really good hitter, not just a slugger all of a sudden. That's terrifying. No thanks. Pass. No, I'm good. I don't want to face him.
I wouldn't either. That's not a him and Judge. No, I'll take a flyer on that. I don't want anything to do with those two. But that has to be it. That's about enough time that we have for today's podcast, unfortunately. But I hope everyone enjoyed the podcast. If you guys do want to see more, definitely subscribe and click that bell notification so you don't miss a video. And then also leave a like and leave a comment on what we can do better and what would you like us to talk about in the future. And we will see you guys on the next podcast.